What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Geordie, and welcome back to F123 My Team Career Mode for Season 5, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And if you missed last episode, it was the pre-season episode where we covered our new livery, of course, which is a callback to the favourite of Season 2. We've just flipped the satin purple with the matte black, and I think it looks just as good. I think it looks absolutely, I mean, especially from the front. Look at that. Absolutely incredible. But we also got ourselves a new teammate in the form of George Russell. This has been building up for quite some time. We've been keeping an eye on George Russell ever since he left Mercedes, and he made a name for himself, more of a name for himself, as a lead driver at Aston Martin. And since this will be our last season, who better to lead our team into the future than George Russell? You know, he'll be very frustrated with how his lot at Aston Martin turned out. You know, always having a title race within his grasp at the beginning of a season, namely Season 2 and Season 4. He had a title-winning car at the beginning of the season, but Aston Martin just could not keep up with the upgrading of the other teams. And that's because in the game, the specs of their facilities, they don't upgrade, as far as I know. They can never upgrade and they never buy them neither, which is, it's a bit frustrating, but it is what it is, you know. So George Russell will be a lot happier that he'll have a team with a really good car at the beginning of the season, and we already are making some huge steps. We've made a ultimate upgrade already going into the Bahrain Grand Prix. We have 3 more ultimate upgrades coming in, 3 more major upgrades coming in. You know, it's going to be quite a lot. We are really maxing this car out now, pretty much. I think actually we're full on maxing it out. 2 more upgrades left for the aero, 1 more upgrade left for chassis, and we're done in terms of powertrain. So legitimately, next episode, we might be looking at a maxed out car. And we've got a 23 race season ahead of us. As, like I said in the pre-season episode, in case you missed it, Season 5 will be our last season in MyTeam Career Mode, and our last season in F123, you know? So by the time we finish up this season, we would have wrapped up pretty much all of our content for F123, and we'll just take a little bit of a break. You know, I plan to buy F1 2016, so by the time this series is over, we'll just move on to F1 2016 and we'll mess around with that for a bit. I don't know whether I'll record and edit that or live stream that. I guess we'll see how it goes. I'm leaning more towards live streaming it though, to be honest. We'll see how I feel by then, because we're about a month away from that. I think the series will last about a month or so this season, but either way, we have 84 million in the bank, so we may as well max out all of our facilities while we have the chance, you know, because by the end of the season, that will be it. That will literally be our final time playing this career mode. Funnily enough, that looks insane. This car looks amazing. So we'll just max out the build time on all of these. And then the only thing we've got left to do after that would be resource point generation. So, yeah, literally, we're just maxing out everything in this game at this point. So, without further ado, it's time to finally get into the first race of Season 5, a return, finally, to the Bahrain Grand Prix for the first time since Season 2. Let's go. Well, this is just what we want to see. Fully clear in terms of weather, although we should probably look at the weather forecast before. Wow, 1% chance. Literally the slimmest of chances for anything other than dry conditions on track. So that is a very, very good sign. Let's have a look at any progress history, see if anybody else has made any upgrades going into this Grand Prix. And I think McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull are there, but that's really about it. But it's good to see Ferrari are back, McLaren are back as well, so yeah, we're pretty much maxing out our upgrades now. So the other teams will be playing catch up. So for these first couple of races, we really do need to, step up our game and get the best results we can before other teams start catching up. Unfortunately, though, Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and AlphaTauri still haven't caught up, which again shows the facilities issue within the game, for sure. So they definitely need to add like an update where teams can edit their facility, like can upgrade their facilities, because teams like the bottom four are just never going to be as good as everybody else. I think it's just so unfair, to be quite honest. And I don't know. I feel it would be better if they did upgrade it, because then we'd have more of a semblance of unpredictability in these seasons. It's such a shame. It'll definitely be something I mention in my final review of the game for sure, and we are going to do a final review. So yeah, George Russell will be definitely glad that he joined our team instead of Aston Martin, because Aston Martin have not had a very good winter. They have fallen down the pecking order quite a lot. Maybe they can catch up in upgrades, but like I've just stated about the facility upgrades, I highly doubt that. So without further ado, let's actually get into the qualifying session for the first race of Season 5. Well, here we are, qualifying for the first time in Season 5 with these new cars, of course, and our final qualifying session in Bahrain. A little bittersweet, but it is good to be back around this track. It is one of my favourite tracks in the game. Of course, we only removed it to kind of shake things up in the seasons. So we haven't actually done Bahrain since Season 2, so it's going to feel a lot different. We are now in virtually a maxed out car. It's very, very close to being so. It'll either be next episode or in a couple episodes time. We go a bit wide at the first corner, which isn't a good sign, but we can obviously make it up as we go along. And we still have a second lap to go. And yeah, I did find in the practice sessions, you might be able to notice from my driving, we have to actually brake a little earlier with these cars. The driving style has to change along with the cars. We figured that out in the last couple of seasons. I don't know, I just feel like after Season 2, the MyTeam cars kind of take a little bit of a nosedive. They get too fast, so much so that the aerodynamics and the chassis just can't keep up with the amount of powertrain upgrades there are, unfortunately. And yeah, I've been complaining about that since Season 2. Since Season 3, sorry, we get caught on the curb there, so this has been a very, very shaky lap, unfortunately, from us. Really not a good start at all, not a good lap. We are, however, faster than a bunch of people in front of us, so De Vries and Magnussen, but that's to be expected anyway. We should hope we're quicker than the Williams and the AlphaTauri. But we come around the final corner. It's been a very, very, very scruffy lap, unfortunately, and that is going to be 7th place, so slower than the Williams of Sargent, slower than the Haas of Liam Lawson, and so we're going to go for another lap, of course. And as you can see, we have made massive, massive gains, no mistakes on this lap, of course, and we are up by nearly 8 tenths, over 7 tenths of a difference there, and that only puts us P5, however, and of course I do have a pretty good reason for that. That is obviously down to the warm tyres, so we need another lap. And unfortunately, as we get this lap underway, we're actually caught up in a little bit of traffic. I think that's the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, and there is an Alpine not too far behind neither, and that Ferrari of Sainz is actually going to get some slipstream on us, unfortunately. But what matters is that we set a good lap. Sainz is actually so quick, he could be looking for an overtake here, and that might cost us a bit of time. We don't go as wide as we did in the first lap, of course, but we do catch some marbles onto the left tyre, and that does impact our grip coming out of that corner. We are down by 2 tenths, so it's not a good start to the lap at all. and we're not really, we're marginal gains there. That was a pretty good corner for us here, and of course we absolutely nail this section right here, and we are now up by 2/10, so we've now made the time up. That wasn't a very good corner there, however, a bit scruffy, catching too much of the curb there, and as we come down to this really tight corner, a lot of braking power is needed, and that's where these cars unfortunately do struggle being maxed out as they are. But fortunately for us, the rest of the grid will probably be struggling with that as well, as we are now up by about 2/10 of our original lap, catching some marbles on the right tyre, unfortunately, but you know, they get lost pretty quickly. There you go, we are up by about 4/10 coming down the back straight here. Unfortunately, Sainz is still getting a slipstream from us. He has the provisional pole so far, and he is likely to get pole, especially with this slipstream. We are now up by nearly 5/10 as we cross the line. What is it going to be? 12? What? What? That is, wow. That is a huge surprise coming into the race, of course. George Russell only gets a P6. He's out-qualified by both Ferraris, so Ferrari definitely carrying through their momentum from, you know, Brazil season 4, where Leclerc picked up the win. Ferrari were looking a little quicker, but yeah, we're not looking pretty good. Russell P6, we're in P12. What happened there? I don't know, but we have a bit of a recovery drive to do, so without further ado, let's go to the grid.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36-mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities, and it could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakhir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Perez, Gasly, Russell, Verstappen, Ocon, Stroll, Norris, Tsunoda, the owner driver, Bottas, Théo Pourchaire, Drugovich, Albon, Liam Lawson, Joe, Sargent, Magnussen, Deruvala, and Nick de Vries. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Well, here we are. Not the greatest qualifying session, not the ideal one, and definitely one that caught us a bit off guard. And these are the strategies going into this race. We've got a soft to mediums, both 10 laps each, and hards for 9 laps, softs for 11. Those strategies are not going to do for us. So we're going to switch that to, I think, 9 laps. 9 laps for the softs, 11 on the mediums. I feel like that would be a pretty good strategy. And I think that's what we're going to go with, yes. So, yeah, let's go to the formation lap.
Right then, the formation lap is underway here in Bahrain, where the circuit is located in the middle of sand dunes and offers near desert conditions. Let's hope we see some scorching action on track today too. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
So we have some overtakes to do, which I'm kind of glad, to be honest. Makes for a more eventful race. You know, starting out in first and going off into the distance like Max Verstappen is just, you know, a little boring. It gets really boring. So I'm glad that we've actually qualified 12th. That being said, it's not a good sign for the rest of the season. So I really hope this was like a one-off thing as we line up at the grid. And we've got the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas behind his tail pusher and the Aston Martin. We've got Yuki Tsunoda in the McLaren and Lando Norris to overtake it. They have started horribly, especially Norris. It basically didn't even start at all. And we've made a bunch of overtakes past a bunch of drivers that just had an horrendous start. The first race start of the season. Max Verstappen is among them. He's actually fallen out of the points as we make the overtake on Red Bull's Sergio Perez. And we look to chase down Esteban Ocon, who's taking a much tighter line down the inside. Oh, very aggressive from the Frenchman right there as we look to make the pass on him. We are chasing him. But yeah, a really good start. We've jumped double the positions. George Russell has jumped up 2 positions, so our teammate looking very good in P4. We want him to get the best position possible, of course. And look at this, we're going to have an audacious move down the inside of Esteban Ocon. I do love doing those audacious dive bombs like that when the AI do leave the space open. Unfortunately, though, that has taken a bunch out of our time fighting with Ocon, of course. And yeah, we now have a second to catch up to our teammate George Russell. Oscar Piastri's in third, and the Ferraris had a pretty good start. They 1-2. So Ferrari looking really good after their abysmal season last season, finishing P7 in the Constructors. This is already a wonderful start for them as we come round the final corner looking to cross the line. P5, a pretty good start considering we started P12, but it isn't until lap 4 that we actually do catch up to the rest of the guys in front. It was definitely made a lot more difficult as they started to get some DRS off of each other, but we're looking to now make the pass on our teammate George Russell. I don't want to be too aggressive with him, however, because he is our new teammate, of course, and like I said in the pre-season episode, he is the future of our team. I don't really feel a need to fight him for championships, to be honest. If he wins the you know, Drivers' Championship, that's all the more good for the team and the future of the team after this series concludes. So yeah, you can leave the future up to your imagination, but George Russell will be our lead driver after this season when I retire, of course. But yeah, that being said, we are not making any pass on Russell. Not through a lack of trying. I'm just not going to be overly aggressive with him. I don't want to cost him time. And as we fast forward towards the end of lap 4, George Russell looking to make the pass on Sainz. We're going to try and follow him through, of course. Sainz is going to have the racing line, and we're going to make a little bit of contact with Sainz, unfortunately, with his back right tyre, but we're through. That was a good move from George Russell, a good team move. A little bit of contact was made, of course, but it doesn't cost us much time, and we now skip ahead quite far to lap 9 as we are now pretty much in a DRS train, leaving the rest of the guys behind us. Sainz has just really fell off a little bit there in his Ferrari. Maybe that's an engine issue, I'm not too sure. Lance Stroll on his return to Aston Martin is looking really strong, P6 for him. So I'm happy to see that, of course. Our former teammate still going strong, now back in the team he pretty much owns, essentially. But yes, this is our pit lap, if you guys remember rightly. So nobody else in front of us seems to be pitting, so we might be looking for a little bit of an undercut here as we slow down into the pit lane. It doesn't seem as though anybody else is joining us. Actually, no, there is an Alpine joining us, Esteban Ocon. No, it's Pierre Gasly that is pitting. So Ocon's overtook us. Gasly's getting the early pit. He'll be pitting for hard tyres, I think. We've had a really good stop. We're pitting for mediums. We're sticking to the strategy. It's looking pretty good so far. Even though I do really prefer the hards in the MyTeam career, like pretty much every other YouTuber. The mediums have got more grip to start off with, so it'll be better to stick with them as we now look to chase down Logan Sargent. Of course, not in the same race as us, so I'm hoping he doesn't really put up much of a fight. He's all alone back here. He's in a pretty lonely race. Albon 5 seconds ahead, Gasly 6 seconds behind. Wow, Sargent absolutely nowhere. Pretty lonely race for him as we undercut the guys ahead of us, and we manage to pretty much take a net P1 essentially. We've got 5 cars ahead of us still yet to pit, but yeah, a very good pit strategy from us. That is absolutely beautiful, and we are only 6/10 ahead of Leclerc by the time we get up to lap 15 and we get down to the main straight. There's a yellow flags behind. It says resume racing, and a safety car is deployed. I do slow down quite a bit there. I had to move out of the way. I thought Leclerc was going to ram into us. Esteban Ocon is out of the session. Carlos Sainz is also out of the session. He definitely had an issue. I think the two of them must have crashed into each other somewhat. I think Sainz may have had an engine failure, and then perhaps Ocon crashed into him, being unable to see through the smoke. I don't know, but both those guys are out. Not a good start, of course, as we now follow the safety car, and we skip ahead now to lap 18, where the safety car is in this lap. So, yeah. We have a bit of work to do. George Russell, P3, Lance Stroll, P5. So, good to see our former teammates doing really well there as we now look to burn our full tank of ERS, of course. And now, sorry for the cut there. God, guess we still have a bit of that recording skipping issue. I don't know what that was, but yeah, we now look to really defend against Leclerc, and my strategy at this point was to essentially push him back, so much so that we let our teammate George Russell get into P2, and yeah, Leclerc closely following us, but we're being so awkward, having such awkward lines here, as we break a lot earlier. And Leclerc is actually trying to make the move down the outside, and we almost push him off. But George Russell makes the move. Through goes George Russell, even overtaking us for P1. George Russell leads the Bahrain Grand Prix here in Sakhir in the Slide Team racing car. What an overtake! And Leclerc, because of our harsh defending, has actually been overtaken now by Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. So we'll let's see what happens there as we now move back to our view, looking to chase down George Russell. Of course, we are right behind him, and looks like we don't have much pressure at all from the cars behind us. And look at this, we're running out of VRS. As we have the slipstream, no DRS needed. And look at that, side by side going into turn 1 now. We move around the outside. It's a pretty clean move. And we get the inside into the next corner, get the apex, get to the racing line. And there is the move complete. But the move is not over, of course. But we do cut Russell off before he can think of making any audacious moves. And now here we are, last lap of the Grand Prix. It's been a masterclass from us in the latter stages of the Grand Prix, of course, being able to get our teammate up there, but of course we had to get the elbows out for our teammate as well. I did say I wasn't going to fight him too hard, and we haven't fought him hard at all. It was as clean as you like, and we have a lot of ERS to be able to stay out in front. Of course, Russell is still trying to make the moves. But again, we have defended quite well, beautifully even so. So, yeah, it's a beautiful start to the season, despite the horrendous qualifying. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. It wasn't the best exit out of that corner, though, and George Russell going around the outside, looking to make the move, but once again, we get to the apex. I'm not going to cut him off completely, but it does not matter anyway, as we are about to cross the line to take the first win of Season 5.
Oh, superb driving. That is the race win, my friend. Well done.
That's it then for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
Well, there you go. Couldn't ask for anything better from the first race of the season, of course. A 1-2 for the team. George Russell definitely could be looking to be quicker than us. He definitely was in qualifying and gave us a little bit of a run for our money. We did have to get the elbows out just a little bit through the last laps of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen gets a P3. Ferrari, once again, looking dangerous. So it's back to pretty much normal, of course. Mercedes, they're nowhere, as they have been for the majority of this series. I don't know what it is with Mercedes and the career modes. They just never seem to develop their car good at all. But, yeah, there you go. First race of the season, first win of this 23-race calendar. So it's going to be a pretty long one. But look at that, Mercedes didn't do the worst ever. Of course, Lando Norris may have got impacted by that safety car. Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes gets the P5, so I do take it back a little bit. Sergio Perez gets P7, Yuki Tsunoda P8. Oscar Piastri is nowhere to be seen, may have been impacted by a safety car or maybe even a DNF. I'm not sure where he is. But Liam Lawson in the Haas gets points. Felipe Drugovich very close to getting points in that Alfa Romeo. Lance Stroll picks up P6 in the Aston Martin, P9 for Théo Pourchaire as well. So Aston Martin looking pretty much normal in the midfield, top of the midfield. McLaren, something must have happened with Piastri, but me and Leclerc equal on points in the rivalry, seeing as he qualified on pole position. But yeah, pretty good start to the season for us. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning into this episode of My Team Career. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button as high as possibly can, comment, share and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Peace!